And it is time to bring in our State House insiders to find out what's going on over at the State House. Dave Wilson, our Republican strategist, Antoine Seawright, our Democrat strategist. Guys, you were with us for the 11 last night, giving your reaction to the governor's State of the State address. But quickly, Dave, what do you make of last night's address by the governor?
The governor just reemphasized exactly what he said in his inauguration. It has to do with the economy. It has to do with education. It has to do with the environment. And he brought up again the question of what's going to happen when it comes to the judicial selections in South Carolina. That's a big question mark for a lot of conservatives across the state right now.
I think the governor missed a tremendous opportunity to bring the state together and make the speech less partisan, because the governor, unlike other elected officials, does not have to worry about re-election. He could have easily talked about the challenges that South Carolina faced, because they're not Democrat, Republican, independent, left or right, however you want to couch it. They're South Carolina issues, and those issues have to be solved in a bipartisan manner. The governor took liberty of trying to beat down on the president and the federal government by misleading South Carolinians, when in fact South Carolina has benefited very handsomely from resources that have come from the Biden administration, from local towns and cities to municipalities, to local governments, to our schools, to our state's infrastructure, to every single constituency in the state have benefited from resources from the federal government and this administration.
Let's talk about what's happening over at the State House when it comes to legislation, though. Antoine, what's being filed this week and in the coming days?
Of course, the two different sides of the political aisle are kind of prioritizing what they think is important. A very interesting bill filed by my actual state representative where I live, Jermaine Johnson, that banned the teaching of slave owners in South Carolina. It's a direct response to this idea of something that does not exist in the state. When we talk about critical race theory, as I oftentimes remind people, we do have a critical race problem in the state, and that ain't no damn theory. The fact of the matter is there's some in the state who want to whitewash history, ban books, follow national trends, when we need to do everything we can to tell the story of history so we can learn from history, so generations of people will not repeat history. And I think that's a waste of time. Some of the bills that are certainly being filed, there's a discussion around using funding private school education with taxpayers' dollars, which I think is a mistake. We have minimally adequate as a standard. And so I hope we get back to blocking and tackling real issues that real South Carolinians face.
You know, he is right. There are 750 to 800,000 students in South Carolina, JR. Each of them needs to be educated. And I think we are looking right now, especially the Senate has been spending 2 weeks on a bill, the Educational Savings Accounts bill, which puts aside money for the student because the money follows the child. And I think that that level of work being done teaches us one thing. It says that how a parent views the most important part of their child's growth, and that is the education of that child. It needs to be placed into the hands of the parent to be able to make the best choices. And it is the responsibility of South Carolina to fund education for children. And so the formula funding that was done for education a few years ago through the legislature has had that money following the child now. And if a parent wants to make that choice of, listen, I want my child to be educated in this format, let's give them the money to be able to do that. I think that's a positive move forward.
All right, guys, we have about a minute or so left. I want to dive into something else happening at the State House. This weekend, former President Trump is holding a campaign event there, shutting down part of the State House to public access on Saturday. Dave, what's going on over there?
President Trump is making a rally. He's going to have Governor McMaster, Senator Lindsey Graham. There may be a handful of legislators there, but there have been a lot of phone calls that have been made around to see if you can get other legislators to actually show up, and very few have committed to doing so. So it leaves us the question of how big is this rally going to be, because it's an inside rally at the State House, and they're shutting the State House and the State House grounds down. I don't know how well that plays out, especially among a group of conservative voters, JR, who he has made some negative comments about, especially ones who he's now blamed for the fact that it was a red trickle, not a red wave in America. You know, he blames that on people who wanted to stand up for their religious beliefs.
The three-time losing, twice impeached former president will make his way to the Palmetto State, politically bleeding. He will be a wounded bear coming into the state. Republican voters will have to make a decision about what they want to be, what they want their party to be when they grow up. So we welcome the former president back to the Palmetto State as Democrats, because he will continue to be a liability for Republicans going into the 2024 election.
All right, Antoine Seawright, Dave Wilson, guys, thank you so much for your time. For the very latest on what's going on at the State House anytime, simply go to our website. That's WLTX.com.